Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've had an amazing lunch and full of energy while we proceed to the next half of the day. Is the traditional university degree still a golden ticket in Africa? Now, we debate whether these degrees truly prepare our youth for the jobs of today and tomorrow. Please welcome our moderator, Dr. Ashwin Fernandez, Executive Director of Africa, Middle East, and South Asia at QS, and his panelists.
A very good afternoon. So the reason why we are having this debate is it's just after lunch, and we want to, of course, make it lively and to keep all of you awake. And for that purpose, let me invite for this debate, which is on the topic, traditional university degrees no longer prepare Africa's youth for real jobs. And for the motion, let me invite Dr. Nalanla Twala, the Provost and Vice Chancellor for African Leadership University in Rwanda, along with Dr. Ahmed Al-Matani, the Associate Dean for General Education and General Foundation at the Modern College of Business and Science, MCBS, Oman. So that's for the motion. You can be seated on the right side. And on my left side, let me invite against the motion, I have Lynette Zungu, the head of MBA at the Henley Business School, Africa, along with Professor Edward Hosea, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Iringa in Tanzania. Please. So we have a great topic. And what we want to do today is understand whether the traditional university degrees are relevant or not relevant for Africa. Now, before I begin, how we will handle this debate session today is that we will first take your opinion in this room. We will run a poll soon after, not as yet, and then I will ask each of the debaters here to make their point for 3 minutes each, and thereafter we will have a crossfire round, and then we will, of course, have your opinion on this topic, and then we will do a re-poll at the end of this debate, and we'll see if anything has changed and if our debaters on either side have changed your mind. So the topic is traditional university degrees no longer prepare Africa's youth for real jobs. And for the motion, I will give you some data points here. In countries like South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya, the graduate unemployment rates exceed 30%. And 55% of African employers say university graduates are not job ready. So on our right side, on my right side here, I have those which actually believe that university degrees no longer prepare Africa's youth for real jobs. On my left side, who are against this motion, say no, they do prepare them for the future. And some data points there for you is that I got from UNESCO data in 2024. It says, on average, university graduates in Africa earn 3 times more than those with secondary education. And there is also data which says degrees are not just about employability. They develop critical thinking, ethics, research capability, and leadership, which courses sometime in the university might not provide. So what we'll do is, what do you believe? Do you all in this room are for the motion, which is the degrees are not preparing graduates for the future, or the other side, which is against the motion, which says yes, the universities are preparing graduates for the future. So if I could get the slide on, which has the polling QR code. If you could, you'll see the QR code on screen very shortly. So this is the pre-debate poll. If you could scan the QR code, or you could go to menti.com and enter the number. Also, if you would like on the panel to also poll in, you could do that. And as we are getting in those numbers, which should start coming in any moment now, would you all like to as well participate in the poll to get your vote in from both our sides? Okay, so that's a close tie there for the motion. Oh, well. Wow, it's changing very fast, and almost a tie there of 12 and 13 for and against the motion. Is that going to sway either side? Yes, that's 16. Okay, so we'll wait a couple of more seconds more for those who haven't yet polled to actually put their vote in. All right, so at this time, we have 18 votes for the motion, which says that traditional university degrees no longer prepare Africa's youth for real jobs. And against the motion, which we have 15 votes there, which say that yes, they do prepare Africa's youth for real jobs. So in fact, your job is much more easier if you can tip the scale further, or the other side can give you data points and convince you in the repolling, which will happen later, to actually change your opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give 3 minutes each. So first I will go to Dr. Twala for his 3 minutes. Either you can do it here or you could take the podium, whichever one you like. Podium, and it's for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm for the motion. Let's start by defining our terms. What is a traditional degree? It's the one degree that is discipline focused, like chemistry, biology, politics, sociology, economics, and that's it. You study that alone and you exit the university. It has no connection, or has a superficial connection, to disciplines outside itself. Also, it is devoid or has superficial soft skills and entrepreneurship. That's my definition of traditional degrees. Now, real jobs also need a definition. They are the type of employment that you get because of what you studied, and then you get lifelong security by implementing what you studied. Now that we're done with the definitions, how are these degrees failing? We know they're failing because we already know that the numbers of graduates from these degrees are piling up on the unemployment lines. Okay? Why are they unemployed? Because the degrees are not integrated to the modern economy. That requires skills in economics to be combined with other skills in other areas like technology and entrepreneurship. Just to give you an example, there were 1,800 doctors that graduated in South Africa this 2025. The Minister of Finance only had money to employ 800 doctors. Okay? But do you think that those 1,000 doctors could go and work somewhere else? No. Why? They're only supposed to work in a hospital. They're not going to be entrepreneurs because they were not educated that way. Okay? So I'm told that in East Africa, it can take up to 5 years with an undergraduate degree to get a job. That can't be good. Okay? There's also a well-known mismatch between the skills required by the third industrial revolution vis-a-vis the premise of the education that we have, which is actually the factory model of the second industrial revolution. So I am here to convince you that the traditional degrees are no longer training any of our graduates for jobs. Thank you.
So we had the opening statement there for the motion, and I'm going to go now to against the motion to Lynette Zungu for her 3 minutes of an opening statement. You can actually give your opening remarks on why this is not relevant.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. As already said by previous speakers, it is estimated that Africa's youth population will double to over 830 million by 2050. So this demographic shift presents both a challenge but also a remarkable opportunity for African universities. So today I affirm with confidence that African universities are preparing the youth for the future with innovation, with intentionality, and also measurable impact. And I will highlight the reasons for saying this, and I'll speak on these following key areas: curriculum reformed that is aligned with future skills, digital transformation that we see happening in universities across Africa, digital fluency happening as well, innovation, entrepreneurship that are now embedded in our programs, ethical leadership and social impact, sustainability as well, which aligns to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and also just presenting youth development platforms and practical exposure for graduates. Around curriculum reform, I'll mention examples of universities that have already changed from theory, not updated their theory, still practicing theory, but also applying skills-based education. Ashisi University in Ghana incorporates compulsory courses in ethics and leadership, in design thinking and entrepreneurship, which are relevant for the future. We've got Henley Business School, which is an institution that I work for, that has a ladder of learning that has moved away from the traditional university path of students doing a 3-year degree. Example, we offer certificate programs where students can do a certificate course, go back to industry, apply it. If they want to further their studies, they can actually do an NQF level 6, 7, 8, 9. It's all year certificates up to a master's level, but while obviously applying all the skills that they've learned in class and practice them and applying them practically. So we also have Universities such as the University of Johannesburg, which are also incorporating programs such as digital transformation. Wits University also has a degree now also in digital transformation. It's important that we look at strategy, we look at organizational change, which is important for the future. I'll also mention, obviously, the University of Cape Town as well, which is a leader as well in digital transformation, where they have modules on sustainability, on climate policy, on green finance and responsible management. And around digital transformation, a lot can be said around AI, post-COVID hybrid learning that institutions such as Macquarie and the likes of Henley continue, and other universities. We have universities offering courses in coding, blockchain, that are offered to students that are non-IT students. We also have institutions who have innovation hubs that are looking at the future of work initiatives. I'll also talk about entrepreneurship. We've got the Academy for my apologies, the African Leadership Academy that also brings in immersions into their programs where students visit other countries. They are in real life entrepreneurial positions where they actually go and experience other cultures from other universities and other countries, and they're actually able to see real life business happening, and this is an advantage to our students. I'll also mention Strathmore University in Kenya, which supports fintech and agricultural startups, which are actually empowering entrepreneurs in Africa. Looking at ethical leadership, this is important, as we all know that Africa is rich in resources, but unfortunately we need to empower our leadership and our youth to become good leaders, in that we have so many issues that we're currently grappling with. So you have institutions such as Covenant University in Nigeria, which integrates value-based ethics. You have again the African Leadership Academy. I make a good example in that my colleague is seated right here, that challenges students to look at challenges, looking at youth unemployment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opening statements. Now, on my right side, Dr. Twala has highlighted unemployability. And is employability the only reason where we will link the degrees? Or is it the other areas which Lynette has mentioned, ethics and other various soft skills which actually prepare the youth, and there's entrepreneurship and various examples what Lynette has given. So we'll go back for the motion to Dr. Ahmed Al-Matani. If you could please adjust your mic, that would be better, because I have a bit of a difficulty hearing the statement from here.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Very good. So, unfortunately, the team against the motion is still living in the past. Okay? We need to be very realistic in our approach, in our thinking. So you cannot stay in the past, my friend. So I'd like to start with a story told by a friend of mine. You know, when he graduated, he was so excited. You know, I graduated from X university, okay? And then he decided to keep it next to what? To the frying pan of his mama, okay? And guess what? Which is more used? The frying pan, not the degree. So basically, what I'm trying to say here, degrees can function, okay, as a bus pass. Can take you somewhere, but not everywhere. You need something that can take you everywhere, and a degree cannot do that. Now, I agree in the past, we used to say that degrees are golden tickets. This is very true, but not anymore. Now, when we talk about skills, soft skills, ethical, skills, learning all these soft skills, and if you cannot get a job, then I need to feed my family. I cannot feed my family with just having the skills, but I cannot get a job. Now, I want to focus more here by giving you some numbers, because numbers do not lie. Now, when we talk about 57% of students who are graduating from universities in Africa saying that they were not given a chance to do any kind of a project related to what? Industry-related activities. That shows that our universities are not preparing these people for the future. They need to be ready. They need to get jobs, okay? Having the degree does not mean that you're ready for the job. Now, talking about the African context, 60% of the population in Africa is 25 or under in terms of age, okay? And according to a lot of statistics that I found about Africa, there are about 12 million graduates graduating from universities here in Africa. Guess what? 3 million get employed. And what they discovered, that these people tend to go extra mile. They are not dependent on the university. They were doing something extra beyond what is given inside the university. So universities are educating, but they're not necessarily teaching people to pass life. Maybe they can pass the test, they can pass the exam, but not necessarily passing what? The test of life. Now, in Nigeria by itself, there are more than 45% of the graduates, okay, who are not employed. 1 in every 5 graduates getting employed, okay, in Rwanda. Now, with the increasing demand in terms of having graduates who are ready for fields like FinTech or Agri-Tech or AIT, okay, we're still not having enough graduates who are ready for these jobs. So universities, unfortunately, are not preparing graduates for the job market. Sorry.
So we have given some data points from both the sides, and I've given data points for actually both the sides. And we have both Dr. Ahmed Al-Matani and Dr. Twala who have really solidified their case there with numbers. And we'll go back now to Professor Edward for his 3 minutes of opening statement. We will not respond to some of the queries now, but we'll do it in the next round. So what do you feel, why do you feel that this debate, what we're having here today, traditional university degrees no longer prepare graduates or youth for Africa for the future? Why are you against it?
Traditional education degree still holds water, and I can see here the audience. Most of you are the product of the traditional degree. Secondly, whatever the future looks like, as our proponents are advocating for, the process must be evolutionary. Evolutionary. You don't just close the universities because there is new AI and the new ideas. So I compliment my colleague that traditional degrees are still important. Traditional degrees, they lay the foundation for the future. And most of the graduates from universities, when they go to job markets, they apply the solid foundation they've learned in the universities in order to do their job. So the universities are still relevant, and we cannot close the universities because they are still relevant. And finally, because of time factor, knowledge base, the traditional degrees, they are still relevant. They give the product knowledge base, theoretical foundation in order to sail through the market. So I'm against the motion, and therefore we should continue with the traditional degrees.
All right, good. So both the for and against the motion have made their opening statements. Now, we'll get in the crossfire round here where you can respond to your opponents on any fact or figures they have given. And I know Dr. Twala has given a bold figure of 3,000 doctors, which 1,800 doctors, which actually graduated, but there were only jobs for 800. So is that a number we can ignore?
May not be relevant because even during COVID, everybody was able to employ herself or himself. So the numbers are relatively, and they can be argued for and against.
So they are placing the reason for the unemployment on COVID. Would you like to respond on that?
I think that all of the scholars gathered here know that that is not true. The persistent unemployment of graduates predates COVID, and it will get worse as we go forward. Why? It's very simple. It's systemic. The rate of change outside the university is faster than the rate of change inside the university. It's an adaptation question. We are not within the academy adapting fast enough to the change that is outside, and therefore the world in which we live in is rejecting that which we are producing. Let me add, it's not true that everyone who comes out of university is not relevant. That's not the argument we're making. We're saying that traditional degrees, okay, are no longer doing it, and we gave a definition of traditional degrees, and we gave a definition of jobs.
So what do we replace traditional?
Can I say something?
I'll come to you. Okay. Yeah. So maybe you can respond, and please think of what else you all want to respond, because we'll keep having the crossfire for a while before we come to the audience.
Well, there was a survey conducted in 2023, which means after COVID, okay, where most of the employers believe that only 35% of the graduates are ready for jobs. And this is very recent, not before, this is not before COVID or during COVID time. So basically, students are graduating from universities and they are not ready.
Okay. Lynette?
Thank you so much. I hear our colleagues are contexting that obviously the high employment rate is because of traditional programs that we currently are offering. I disagree in that education alone is not solely responsible for all the issues that our economies and our countries are experiencing. There's labor policies, there's politics that also plays a role. So we need to look at society as a whole and what is actually contributing to youth unemployment. It's not education alone, and I beg to differ on that. That let's look at context and understand our different countries in Africa as a whole as to what is actually leading to unemployment. Thank you.
But what data do you have to quantify that on policies? Because they've come with data. They're actually quoting numbers. What numbers would you all like to quantify it besides the theory?
It's a good point that they do have data. Maybe also let me refer back to my colleague, Dr. Nhlanhla, about South Africa and doctors. There's quite a number of doctors that were sent on training. I'll mention Cuba as one of our countries. And the medical professionals in South Africa felt that the training was not sufficient enough and that the doctors needed to come back in South Africa again and have additional training. So let's look at that. I don't have the data, but I know that that was a conversation that was had in the medical profession, in that they are not skilled enough. They need to come back home and do additional training at home, which could have also contributed to the high unemployment rate in terms of doctors. But yes, I agree, I don't have data, but there are other factors that we need to look at, not education alone.
I don't want to say that against the motion, even though you have more votes, don't have data to quantify. And I'm not judging here, I'm just trying to see how can we debate this. And you can use your technology, what you have, if you like to get some data on that meanwhile. But we'll go back to the other side. Today, the entire audience here today have traditional university degrees. So are we discounting all of them?
Victor, you want to say something?
No, we're not discounting all of them. We're saying that it's time for an education overhaul, right? a reform in education to match the times, right? There is a context in which we ended up with this university system. It was a result of the second industrial revolution, the factory model of people finishing university degrees in order to fit into the factory model in which they could get jobs for life and sit at one station and work, as per their disciplines. But that has changed. The third industrial revolution requires multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary connections, right? That will then mean we train people ready ahead of the curve to serve the third and the fourth digital revolution that is in front of us.
So you're saying we have to reinvent the
Yes.
traditional degree? What do the other side feel? Is there a time, is this the time now to reinvent a degree, or you feel, as the debate motion is, you feel that the existing traditional degree works?
Thank you for allowing me to consult my AI. And this is the current situation in Tanzania. A 2023 report from National Center for Education Statistics indicated that 80% of 25 to 34-year-olds with a bachelor degree are employed, compared to lower rate for those with less education. So this is the current data.
Would you like to respond to that?
I just wanted to emphasize the idea of learning and relearning and unlearning. It's okay to make mistakes. We need to admit this is the first step to solutions. If you continue thinking that traditional universities are the only solution for our problems, there is nothing going to happen. There is nothing going to change. So first of all, we need to acknowledge the fact that there is something wrong with our traditional universities. Now, there are some good examples that we can benefit from. For example, in Kenya, I was reading about this Morenga schools, which are basically trying to focus on practical, digital, skills enhancement among their graduates. And believe it or not, 85% of these people who are graduating from these schools, they get employed. Why? Because they're ready for the job market. So you need to change your mindset that the traditional approach will not lead you anywhere.
But despite your data, despite whatever you have said, the audience is not with you all. We have 27 people who voted, of course, and they have 33 votes on the other side. So why is that? What's the reason why we are not willing to accept that we need to overhaul the traditional degrees?
Of course, most of our audiences are degree holders. So they will have to lean towards that idea, okay? So we cannot, have everybody saying, yes for our convincing, argument, but at the same time, they need to be very realistic and very logical in understanding the situation. You could not be emotional. Yes, I have a lot of respect for degrees, but the situation is really miserable, okay? With a lot of graduates leaving universities. We're lucky. Everybody here maybe have a job, okay? But we are not talking about us only. We are not selfish. We think about the majority. If what we have here in the room, represents 10%? Okay, I don't know, 5%? I'm thinking about 95%, okay, who are struggling getting a job. So we need to be very careful about, how we address this challenge. We need to be very, very careful about this major problem.
All right, so I'm going to go one final time before we come to the audience for you, what do you think in this case? So my question goes back again to you all. Is there a need to overhaul the system? And you can respond to any of the comments from the opposing side.
So my point is going back into curriculum development. And let me mention strategy in that you find that in most degree programs and master's programs. and you look at Porter's Five Forces as an example, or look at Pestle, is it still relevant? It's traditional, but I believe that it's still relevant. An example is for any entrepreneur, for any graduate who's going to go out there into the world, establish a business, start a business, employ people, you need to look at first of all, you need to look at the political environment, you need to look at the economy, you need to look at all social and so on. So I believe that, yes, I made an example of just one framework, but it's important that whatever foundations that have been built and research that has been done by previous scholars, it's still relevant. But obviously what we need to ensure is and make sure that it's still relevant to what we're experiencing currently and our issues as a nation, as a continent, as Africa. And obviously we do need African solutions for Africa. But let's use the frameworks, let's use the modules that have already been researched to uncover and solve those issues.
So am I hearing it right, Lynette, that you seem to feel there is a problem, but the political and all the other challenges is impeding the feeling that we have to do this change? Am I hearing that from you?
Sorry, please repeat that.
So what I'm saying is, there seems, I don't know whether you agree that we have to rehaul the higher education degrees, the university degrees.
Not rehaul, but revamp and update and add to it. Not take away fully what we have actually already in place.
But isn't that something you're agreeing to their point then, that you have to reinvent
So traditional,
the traditional degrees?
we keep it traditional,
Okay.
but yes, update. That is important, and I mentioned it in my opening statement as well.
Okay.
And I made examples of universities that are traditional and have been offering the degrees that they have been doing, but they are also updating and including AI as an example and how students can use that ethically as an example. So yes, let's rely on technology to make our lives better, to be efficient as graduates and as students, yeah.
So we still need to have the traditional system, but we need to reinvent the curriculum as AI and other technologies come along.
Basically update and keep up to the times.
Do you all agree on that point? We still need to have the traditional system, it seems. Dr. Twala.
No. Let's look at the metaphor of transformation, right? The amoeba all the way to a butterfly, right? We need to transform the system because it's not fit for purpose. Why do I say so? The numbers, right? Africa has the lowest rate of access to tertiary education. It's expensive. It doesn't lead to employment, but it also doesn't reach the highest number of people. We need to reform the education system so that more people can access it, right? If I would have my way, 90% of the people would access it, but it should also give them real ability to move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because right now, the situation as we have it is untenable. So it's up to us as the leaders of the education sector to say, how can we improve the welfare of the African people in the majority?
So what I'm going to do is there anybody else who wants to make a statement before? I'll check on this side first before because you've already spoken. Yes, Prasad.
Yeah, my statement in the context of our debate and the discussion, I would propose that the traditional degree education is still important. Given the geopolitical realities and the scientific innovation, yes, we needed to blend the tradition and the modernity that is emerging. Thank you.
Okay. So that's a midway somewhere between where we're discussing. All right, good. So while I'm going to the audience, think of your final 2-minute statement to the audience here on why they should actually vote for your motion and not the other side. And we'll go and hear what the people in the audience have to say. We have one hand up there, yes, and we have 2, 3, we have a lot of, and 4. So we'll start with Dr. Ahmed, is it?
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the debaters. I must submit a disclaimer.
Can you tell us which side are you on first?
I'm finding myself in between.
Okay.
And the disclaimer I wanted to put is that I'm from a public university and a somewhat traditional university. But why am I saying I'm in between? Is because I think maybe the motion shouldn't be as it was said, because no one wants to remain traditional and no one ought to be going against wholesomely the traditional approach. Why? Because someone, I think it was a prof from the VC from Iringa, we want to keep the traditional degrees, but adapt them to the changing circumstances. For them, those who will be getting those degrees, to be ready, not just for that particular, because no one, even those going for the modern university teaching approach, can easily predict tomorrow. Now, because we cannot predict tomorrow today, we need to keep the degrees, but prepare our learners to become adaptable to the changing circumstances. And how are we going to do that? By embracing and not simply training the discipline-specific requirements, but also preparing them with soft skills, many of them, and those that will allow them to easily fit in tomorrow that is non-predictable today. Why do I say that? It's because it's like the two things, adaptability and abandonment, are the key issues at play, which is not true. It shouldn't be. Now, and by the way, we are even being premised on the wrong premise that unemployment that is appearing in Africa is solely based on traditional degrees versus the modern degrees. It's not true. It's simply because somewhere, somehow, Africa has failed to match the output with, like the other ordinary principle of supply and demand. We have wanted to open for higher education. Even though we are still that low, we opened for higher education, but we forgot to match that with the job creation. So the mismatch between the output, the number of graduates being put on market, with the number of jobs available is what is causing all this. Otherwise, one would ask, if of the 12,000, one of the speakers talked about graduate, and only 3,000 or 3 million to 12 million. If only 3 are employed, then what does that mean? Because this is simple mathematics. That means that jobs are not, they are not available. They graduate with insufficient skills, but the insufficiency of jobs readily available on the market. Summit. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say I'm in between because I don't want to keep traditional without adapting, but also I don't want to go because we still need those discipline-specific knowledge. And we want thinkers of tomorrow. We want those who, most of the newly driven approaches do not value more when it comes to research and the fundamentals of those area-specific knowledge. So I want us to be somewhere in the middle, bring the two together.
Thank you so much. I think in the poll there is no midway, so you'll have to choose a side when you re-poll, yeah? But I think you're inclining more towards the right side for some reason, more on the left side. So we don't know. We'll see what the next we have the second person who has, yeah. No, okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Noordin Atatra from Al Ain University, Saifati. Actually, I will go against the motion. I will support traditional degrees because of different factors. For example, if we look at a global view about degrees inside universities, if you are talking about, for example, other part of the world, state, USA or UK, universities still teach chemistry, physics, and these degrees are hot degrees until now, although they have opened a lot of new degrees and to to catch up with the market. So I think it's very important to stick to traditional degrees with the support to skills and communication enhancement and other things. Now about the point which you mentioned about the medical doctors, I think we have to differentiate. We will still need medical doctors, and medical doctors, the graduates, they have to adopt according to the market. For example, for medical doctors right now, as I am part of an insurance company, we recruit medical doctors and with big numbers, for example. So we still need medical doctors outside hospitals. So I think it's a matter of adapting the graduates to enter into different fields related to their job, but different fields. Now, another point I would highlight is that the economical consequences for traditional degrees. You know, universities right now, they are driving force for each country, for their economy. Imagine what would be the consequences for this sector to be a little bit weak. And I would like to end up by saying maybe a funny thing. You know, we all know Bill Gates, we know Mark Zuckerberg, who choose not to follow a traditional degree. They weren't successful, but Harvard still successful, where they dropped from. So we still need traditional degrees. And some examples, we cannot, you know, take them as a standard. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Right. Do you have one more? One more there, and then we'll go this side.
Yeah, so thank you. I am against the motion.
Okay, we're getting more votes there.
Yeah, I'm against the motion because we still need the traditional education. Most youths on this continent today will tell you education is a scam. That's what you hear from them. Education is a scam. And then they want to cite very, very few numbers of people that dropped off traditional education and became successful. The question is what percentage? So they talk about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. How many Bill Gates and Steve Jobs of this world are there? They talk about the sportsmen. How many sportsmen are there who are successful compared with the population of African youth that we're talking about, where 60% of the population is below 25 years old? So the traditional education gives you a broad mind and a global visibility. That's what brings you to the table. If anybody wants to employ anybody, they ask you, what qualifications do you have? Yes, I know the skills are important. Before you can put the skills to use, somebody wants to ask you, what do you bring to the table? Who leads the world today? How do you get invited to the global forum? How did we all get here? Even the support staff in this room who are manning all our gadgets, ask them. They got some degree. So I think what we need to do is to encourage the young people to build the right skills together with their education, rather than talk about education being a scam and that you don't need it. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good point you have made there, and you know, it could also be the candidate themselves. So the number what you've been quoting, 1,800, maybe the people who went into medical didn't make it because of the quality. So the numbers you're quoting, I'm just translating what I'm just a moderator, okay? So so I will go to there were two hands up there, and then I'll come here, please, right behind the second table.
Okay.
Who has the mic?
Thank you so much. I'm Maulid Matawala from Sokoine University of Agriculture in Tanzania, and I'm against the motion. A lot of what I had to say has been said by the Vice Chancellor of University of Rwanda, but because it's a game of numbers, I thought that I should just give a small example of how we can be innovative and create jobs instead of saying that graduates are not relevant, for example. And I'll give you a joke. One of the leaders came to our university and said the same, that your graduates are no longer relevant. The question was, what if we bring 10,000 Harvard graduates to Tanzania? Can the economy absorb them? And these are high skilled. So is it about skills, or is it about job, or is it about relevance? I'm for job creation. I'm going to give just a small example. In Tanzania, for example, our Minister of Agriculture partnered with the Cotton Board of Tanzania, because I come from a university where we teach a very traditional degree, Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, very traditional. So the marketing board and the GINAs, these are the factories, and the local government and the university partnered together in a system that was created by the government called Building Better Tomorrow, and started an extension program in just one crop, cotton, that just 1 year employed 2,000 graduates, bachelor's degree in agriculture. And this year they extended the same to other crops, including cashew, where they employed 500 graduates of degree in agriculture. You are talking about like cohorts of 5 to 6 years. So it's one of innovative ways of how we can create jobs and make even the traditional, seemingly relevant degree get so many employments, and also, opening new pathways for employment apart from those traditional, maybe government systems. So thank you so much.
I hear skills there. We have one more hand up there, 1, 2, and 3. I will stop at 3 for now because of time limitations. Please quickly. If you could be very concise in a minute or two.
Okay, no problem. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I am a supporter, right? And I'm going to support the motion. Traditional degrees no longer prepare youth for a really job. My factor is about, as you know that our universities, because I am a student, in our university, we are taught theoretical, less practical, right? You can see a student graduate, maybe he have been learning 3 years, right? But what we have been taught is only about theory. For instance, you are a designer, maybe you study Bachelor of Graphic Designer, but all your study is taught theoretically. And that student, maybe after completing their studies, maybe in applying a job opportunity, nothing they know. They don't know how to use the software like Adobe, Photoshop, something like that for designer. So that we see that education is just, we are focused only in theoretical, not practical. Thank you.
And you're a student?
Yes, I'm a student.
Okay. So I will not pass any judgment here, okay? We'll take the second and the third. I'll just say 2 more. Very briefly, please, in a minute.
Thank you so much. I'm with the motion, and I totally agree that universities need to change. And this has been observed in several locations. We had a gathering for all the stakeholders from the industry, from the employer in Oman, to look after how our graduates are prepared to join the industry. And the answer from the industry, they said, we are not looking for high GPA graduates. We're no longer interested in that. We're looking for graduates with soft skills, with leadership skills, with those who can have critical thinking. And believe me, all of these are not there yet in the traditional universities. So that has to be changed. We need to improve more in our programs, in academic programs, in a way that we introduce more practical activities for the graduates at the senior level. We need to consider entrepreneurship. We need to consider more, I would say, like soft skills during the program, and that will prepare our graduates to take the job after that.
Okay, well, so last one there. I have the mic there, and I will stop at this one, please. Think of your 1 minute pitch. Finally, we'll run a repoll. Keep your mobiles ready, please, everyone.
I'll just take 30 seconds. Somebody said very good that Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, they don't have degree. But in India, when they hire our students, they write without CSCs must. So neither Zuckerberg nor, Bill Gates, they don't hire students without degree. We met TCS. We said that can we start new degree in India? Mechatronics started, it failed. They say it's a new degree. And let me ask a straight question to our two panelists who are saying degree is not important. Can you hire in your university a person as a professor who don't have a degree? A straight question.
All right. So thank you so much for that. From the audience, 1 minute each. Dr. Ahmed Matani for the motion.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I started with a story, about my friend who struggled getting his degree, hang on the wall without any impact compared to the frying pan of his mama. Now you need to understand that we should not think emotionally. We need to be realistic. I know that we are working in universities and we are very supportive for our universities, but the reality is different. We need to stop thinking in this fashion. This is the only way that we can progress, by having a different approach in handling people who are ready for their jobs. Traditional universities no longer can
1 minute is up.
no longer can handle this business or challenge.
Dr. Twala, please, your 1 minute.
Colleagues, I'll ask you just to be honest with yourselves. Don't share it with anyone. Who is happy with the status quo? Are you happy? Are the students happy? We've just heard one of them. If we brought them in the room here, would they support the classical, traditional degree? Are employers happy? We have had indications they're not happy. Industry is not happy. Are governments happy? Definitely our budgets are not happy. Keeping the traditional degree means we have to spend even more on this education. We're not even at the OECD average of 36 or 39%. We're sitting below 10%. Triple that. Keep the traditional degree, embellish it. Will you ever get there? Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to, against the motion, to Professor Edward.
Traditional degree are measured. The rest cannot be measured. Thank you.
Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world, and I believe that traditional institutions are still doing that. We are still creating, giving opportunities to young people to be creative, to think, and that's what they're there for. As much as the content might be there, but we are creating thinkers who need to go out there and solve solutions, and we are doing that. Thank you so much.
So some well-said points by everyone on for and against the motion. If I could have the post-debate poll, do you think either of them have changed your thinking? If you could have the QR code on the screen along with the live polling. Okay, and the post-debate poll is open for you. And We had in the earlier poll, we had 27 for the motion and 33 against the motion. So we'll see if, unless somebody has left the room, we should almost get the same number of votes. All right, we are tracking at 2017. So it seems that they have managed to convert some more, but we still don't have 60 votes there. So we have about 40. Don't come too early, all right. Okay. It's tracking at 2622. Has everybody scanned the QR code? 2723, 2823. Are we sweating as yet on the other side? We are still missing some votes there from, I hope everybody has scanned in. They cannot vote twice. It doesn't allow 2 votes. So we might have had some people who should have left the room. 3025. So 3125. 56 votes so far. We still are waiting for a few more there. But it does seem to be that they managed to get a little bit more number of votes from 27. So, well, this is an academic discussion and debate. While I believe some of you all might agree or might not agree with the motion in reality, but I'm really grateful you all actually chose to be on either side of the debate. We wanted to, of course, nurture some thought there and motivate you all to rethink outside the box. And it does seem to be that for the motion have received more votes in the repolling. So, but anyway, it's a discussion and a debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers. What an exciting debate that was. I'm pretty sure this debate, this topic is going to be discussed all over around for the next couple of days, hopefully. Dr. Ashwin, this, if I didn't know better, you're trying to make universities go out of business with this topic. The next session will address future skills and workforce readiness in Africa. Please welcome the speakers for this discussion and our moderator, Niji Castaño, Senior Consultant at QS.
Right away. Can you hear me? No. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, there is someone who is still awake after the debate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Traditional learning is still good thing. We teach good stuff. So thank you for being here. We are closing this first day of our very, very interesting, very intense 4th edition of the Africa Forum. My name is Niji Castaño, Senior Consultant at QS, and here I am today with 4 brilliant people from different countries, from different as well backgrounds that will help me with this specific topic of the really are we really having the skills necessarily to answer to the demands of the industry? This is something that we heard through the whole day. So I'll just call my panelists to join me, please. I feel a little bit lonely here, so please. Dr. Lara Pritch, thank you. Dr. Sylvie, and I think we are missing someone from the host institution. Ah, no, here you are. Great. Dr. Sylvie, yes, great. We're ready, excellent. So now that I have them here with me, very briefly, I want to introduce this panel session about the future skills and the work force readiness in Africa. We heard quite a lot, especially during the. So let's see what is the experience that our panelists can share today with us. But to introduce this session, I would like to start mentioning that 20 years ago, the industry were asking quite a set different of skills that nowadays are like new. So this is a very rapid change that is happening currently. And what we want to see as well is how here in the continent we can prepare our higher education institutions and our young people, that as we heard is also very, very important for the futures evolving very rapidly, that is driven by technology, by the innovation, and the changing global needs. Across the continent, we are seeing a rapid technological change, demographic shifts, and evolving labor markets. The big question is, our higher education institutions are keeping pace? This is a big question, and we heard some of the points against and actually for in the previous debate. We have here with me today people from different institutions. As I said, first I will have Dr. Lara Pritch. I will later on ask you to introduce yourself, but I will just name you. I have Pankaj Mahiravish, sorry if I am butchering your name, Dr. Sylvie Masia, and finally Professor Almandari. So please, over to you, please introduce yourself, and then I will just start with a round of questions. In the order would be easier.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sticking around post-lunch, post-panel one. My name is Lara Pritch. I am the head of communications and public affairs at the Association of Commonwealth Universities. We have 400 members in about 42 Commonwealth countries. And what we do is we convene universities from globally, basically, on issues that are concerned with sustainable development. I come from a traditional degree, but as you can see, I segued first into academia and am now working really closely with universities to really connect and collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, QS, for this opportunity. My name is Pankaj Maheshwari. I'm coming from Ghana. So I head Blue Crest University in Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone as the group CEO. And I actually come from both streams, from the mainstream traditional university, which is our Blue Crest University or Academic City University. And I also had a skill-based institution, which is an open labs institution. I hold an Indian passport, but I've been in Africa for 20 years in education sector. Thank you. Please.
Yes. My name is Wadih Al-Mandari. I'm currently the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the Modern College for Business and Sciences. Previously, I worked at the Oman National Vision, which is responsible, my responsibility was to align the national vision goals with different sectors. And before that, I worked for 20 years in the National Sultan Qaboos University as Quality Assurance Deputy Director. And that's it.
Thank you. My name is Sylvie Mocho. I'm the Vice Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic. I'm an environmental scientist by training. Rwanda Polytechnic is a public polytechnic, the only one in the country, with 8 colleges scattered around the country, and we have a student population of 12,500. Thank you.
No? Ah, yes. So thank you very much for the brief presentations. I will ask you a first question that will be the same for a few, and that will be, so a very quick answer, please. And that will be, what emerging sectors or industries do you see driving job creation in Africa over the next 10 to 20 years? Laura?
Thank you, Nili. I think we heard before that there are the traditional ones within the sustainable development sort of sphere, which would be climate resilience related, water, food security, public health, of course. But what I hear from our members more and more is sustainable tourism, because it's also one of the economies where talent stays in country, because it's a place-based industry.
Over to you.
Yeah. So before picking a sector, I'll just want to give a background. Africa's population is a youth population. So, combination of youth population, mobile penetration, and urbanization, that will accelerate the demand in the sectors like fintech, digitalization, healthcare, and logistics. So that's my take. Digitalization in not only IT industry, but all industries going forward will need digitalization. So that's my top pick. Thank you.
In terms of future job market on what is expected in the coming 10 to 20 years, we see a lot of disruption in terms of the traditional or the conventional job market, or even the jobs themselves. And there are many factors to this. Education, since it's the main supply to this market, it also plays an important role in order to make sure to fulfill the needs of this market. However, I don't want to sound biased, but in IT and cybersecurity, maybe they tend to lead the market in terms of the types of jobs that are being needed or created in this sector. But also, importantly, especially more evident in the previous couple of years, are the green solution type jobs, where you find more sustainable and green solution to your current problems that you're facing in terms of job markets.
I think the emerging sectors, if we are talking about them, is how actually they are, the existing sectors are transformed. And we see a lot of agro-processing as an industry sector that is growing because we tend to move from, subsistence farming and adding value to the growing produce. And also in addition to that, there is also smart agriculture, precision farming, especially with the climate change issues. And we talked about urbanization. Infrastructure development is very important. It's coming up in construction, and as well as manufacturing, especially light manufacturing as well. In this light manufacturing, there is also raw material processing, including mining sector. And all these sectors have to be supported by increasing developments in transport and logistics. And these, as well as they are very much supported by technology, digital technologies, AI, robotics, cybersecurity, and all that. So we see a lot of these sectors, which I tend to think that how they are developed, how they are transformed is very key. It's not that they are very new, but how they are supported to optimize processes and productivity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can clearly see how the same question to 4 people can be completely different because of exactly your experiences and also the fact that your institutions as well are giving this more focus on one area or the other. You're also seeing and highlighting the needs from different industries as well. Let me go back or stay a little bit on this skills part with you, Dr. Pritch. More specifically, taking a look at other kind of skills. We were talking a little bit earlier about the soft skills. However, they're not the only skills that the industries need. So what type or what types of skills will you think will be the most in demand also from the experience that you have? And the green color will already give us an indication.
Well, I think, I am a firm believer in the soft skills, and especially in the so-called 4 Cs, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. Of course, I work in communication, I would say that. Mm-hmm. But it helped me a great deal, I'm a literature scholar, so, I would say I'm trained in being a thinker and then, transfer knowledge into these 4 Cs. Mm-hmm. But actually, what is even more important is to be able to network and forge connections, and especially on an international level. And I think this is what all we here in the midst of our careers are doing probably every week, every day. And I think this is really a skill that can be learned and that we need to prepare students for how to do it, how to forge connections, how to engage and how to nurture relationships.
Thank you very much. Regarding you were talking about digitalization and this aspect that is required. So I have a question for you in this line. What is the impact of automation, digitalization, AI on the job ability and skills requirements in the African context?
Definitely AI has got a job impact. But it will only change, the impact will only be on the type of jobs. It will not result in the job losses. So what we need to do now is people need to reskill themselves in the skills which will be in demand, like, AI, cybersecurity. So things will change, but those who will keep up the pace with the technology will remain in the system. And we need to motivate our students that they should not fear job loss because of the traditional streams or so, but they should be able to learn, reskill themselves. If they have already earned their degrees, they're looking for job, they need to reskill themselves for the newer technologies. So definitely not a job loss, but type of jobs, probably most of the blue collar jobs will get digitized, will get lost. So this blue collar employees also, or the skill force also need to be trained on new skills, and that has to start right from the secondary school and or even at the primary level, but not only at HEIs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving to this, we heard this morning this lack of communication, this not understanding what's happening in the industry sector in terms of what they need exactly. There is one thing that actually we can work together, is in the curricula. So my question for you will be, how can higher education institutions ensure that the curricula remains aligned with the evolving labor market needs?
This is a very important aspect in order, maybe previously one of the participants, they commented that we need to improve our academic program. Not only in what sense we have to improve them, basically in how do you align them with the workforce and with the job market. The process of alignment, it might look very easy, but however, it's a bit deep in terms of exactly knowing what the market needs. Because if you listen carefully to the market and what do they require in terms of skills, in terms of professionalism, certification, they will tell you exactly what they need. Yet when you go and look at the employment numbers, or you find them very low compared to what you produce or what you send to the market. So the process of alignment with what the market needs exactly, it might take different shapes, but our conventional way of approaching this, maybe this is what we have to enhance it. We have to have regular certification, not certification, you can have to have regular committees which conduct this kind of alignment process into multiple stages. And we monitor also the output of these meetings or the output of these committees in regular basis to make sure that whatever changes introduced in our programs is actually impacting employment rate, employer satisfaction. We at the college, for example, we have our advisory boards, but advisory boards still considered to be a conventional way of approaching this. We need to have more collaborative research. So there are at national level, we introduce many programs where the student, while he's enrolled in the academic seat, he will go and start working for a couple of period into the companies which are also providing these job opportunities. This helps us know exactly what do they need and test also a sample of our graduates. How do they feel they fulfill their needs in terms of hiring?
Thank you very much. I'll continue with a question regarding not in the traditional educational system, but that is not only one. It's very rich and it's very complex. Dr. Mucio, what role can vocational, technical, and polytechnical institutions play in preparing future graduates for the future job market?
So I think the beauty of having, technical training institutions, polytechnic, is that they allow to provide specialized training with industry demand or focused based industrial training. So when you have what my colleague here said about alignment, so you can actually even have tailor-made trainings that bring faster employment or and also raising a critical mass on a kind of specialized training. But there is also the ability of upskilling, and skilling, graduates while they are still at school, especially with this change of technologies, the evolving market demands, and so you can create really special training aligned with what the industry is requiring during their lifetime studies, and without going to curricular changes, revision and everything, and can even be microcredit, as they were mentioning, which can be even mandatory depending on the demand in the industry. So polytechnics allow that kind of support, and I think as well as with the growing industrial development, which require the hands-on skills, it really helps to have a big investment in polytechnics or our technical education.
Yeah, please, if you have a comment or.
I want to add one more thing. We need to change our mindset also here in terms of VTIs. We've always put VTIs in plan B. We should stop putting it in plan B. It should be part of plan A. Those who want to go for vocational can also, put it as the part of plan A. So probably the change of mindset towards VTI, it needs to be given more importance than currently it is getting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's very important the point that you are touching about the upskilling, and because nowadays with the population living longer and the new demands of the market, it's not only for the graduates but as well for the people that are already working and needs to follow the pace and also to follow these needs that are currently required. So very, very important point, and we also have to, higher education institutions and all the enablers like us, we have to think about how we can fulfill this gap. Okay, one more question for you, Laura, and that would be on what innovations have proven successful, making education more inclusive in skills training and also more equitable.
I guess that would be blended learning, the blended learning approach. And I worked on 2 projects in East and West Africa where we basically worked with some of our members to train the trainers of East and West African universities to implement blended learning approaches. It sounds straightforward, but it's actually an incredibly complex process, and not just COVID, but obviously on the African continent, demand outstrips supply by a long way. There are just not enough lecturers in universities. So the blended learning approach, we feel, is the innovation that can really scale education also to these remote areas or where people might not be able to travel into university because of family commitments or caring commitments. So I would say that would be my verdict.
Thank you. Yeah, please, you can comment.
I want to add one innovation to it, which I've seen it practically happening, is income share agreement. So income share agreement is wherein students complete their education now and pay later after employment. So one of the organization, which is able to take it up strongly is Chanson International from Rwanda. They've trained thousands of students wherein students study, the course that they want and then pay after employment. So they started with Rwanda, took it to South Africa, other regions, and they've recently started it in West Africa as well. So we are partner with them, wherein, girls from underprivileged backgrounds are picked up, they are being trained, and then they'll pay, probably next 5 years once they get employment. So that's also a big innovation in the education sector, wherein you study now and pay later. Thank you.
Well, you can keep your mic on because I'll move it now to you and we'll ask you a question. Also, you were mentioning a very concrete action, and these Marinas were highlighting at one point that actually all the changes that we want to make, not only in Africa, but everywhere, really needs the partnership component, the dialogue directly with the industries, with other institutions, with other regions. And there is one specific topic or one specific issue regarding the partnerships, and it's the public-private partnership. So my question on that line will be, how can these public-private partnerships can contribute to bridge this skills gap that we are facing here in the continent?
So I'll say it's a critical enabler. Public-private partnership is very critical for HEIs. Each partner can play a different role there. Let's say industry can offer the real-time insights because they are employing people, they know what skills are required. So industry for real-time insights. Since industry, its private sector has got funds also. So definitely real-time insights plus funding from industry. Government to provide policy backing. So government can really provide incentives, tax benefits to organizations who are upskilling people, who are continuously updating their curricula. So that will also give a push effect to HEIs that, if they go for continuous innovation, they're going to get those benefits. And HEIs can execute it at a scale. So if you want to take it at scale, you need public-private partnership. So industry, academia, coming together along with the government to make it successful. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you very much. Another topic that has been also mentioned, another of these keywords of today has been entrepreneurship. And that is something that can be one of the soft skills of this entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship mindset. But actually my question now in this line would be, how can we really ensure that we foster entrepreneurship mindset in the African continent or with the African young students?
Exactly. The debate of entrepreneurship and how to make sure that it is instilled in our students, in our curriculum. One way is, as I mentioned, is to make sure that our academic programs are rich in terms of entrepreneurship, teaching, learning, and also practical implementation, and especially in our universities where we nurture this sector or this area and make sure that our students have the necessary infrastructure for them to, for these entrepreneurship skills to be enlisted in them. So adding the entrepreneurship to our curriculums and our programs is not enough if the student didn't actually manage to implement it in an, as I say, in a lab environment, where the lab, I mean, is by this higher education institution. So learning these skills, attaining these skills, and also implementing it within the university or the college level, it's very important for him before he graduates and go into the market. So universities needs to upgrade their infrastructure, needs to upgrade their facilities to make sure that they do have enough facilities to accommodate those interests, and also to market to this entrepreneurship within their academic program. I think that will have a very important impact on the skills to be attained by students before they go even into the job market.
Thank you very much. So there is still work to do in this aspect, and it's important that we know exactly about the current skill set that our young generation they have, but also what they need and how to really support them with this aspect of the entrepreneurship, which is more and more required, and they will be more tend to do it, but of course they need this support as well from our side. And continuing with this, how can we really help them not only to be entrepreneurs, but also to have more innovation, to have other set of skills that will support this entrepreneurship, and especially from the perspective of a polytechnic institution, Dr. Sylvie?
So complementing what he just said, I think what we've realized with our experience is that students, you have to create a culture in your institution where students, when they come in, they know the values that you are promoting. Either even during the induction, simple as the induction period, they need to understand what are you promoting. For us, we promote as the technical training institution, we promote entrepreneurship and innovation, and also job creation. So we tell students you are problem solvers. You can be employed, but you can also employ others. But we realize we need to be intentional on how we design the learning process, how we bring out those skills out. Someone has said earlier about entrepreneurial mindset. You know, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, but wherever he is, she is, either in an industry, need to have that mindset to be a problem solver, to bring innovative ideas in his working space. We realize that yes, technology has a big role to play. If we are bringing blended learning, how do we make sure that the tools that we are bringing, or the learning process we are bringing in, promote those skills, promote problem solving, critical thinking skills, and also independent learning and curiosity, among others, and also resilience, because being an entrepreneur or being an innovator, you have to have resilience and also adapt to challenges and so on. While making sure that also our system of learning brings those skills, and also the culture, the space that they were talking about, how do you design the spaces For us, we have, yes, the facilities, innovation, incubation centers, but the incubation centers is not only for students to come and have space to do their prototypes and so on, but it's also a space where these students, even those who are not incubated, come and share ideas and exchange. So they have innovation clubs where they kind of criticize each other, but it stimulates their thinking, and we think that during that process they get those skills.
Thank you very much. I really like this idea of gathering together and sharing ideas, bringing your experience. Therefore, I will take the opportunity to ask one question to the audience. I know this is not only for the panel. I know. Also, we have people here from many different universities, from many different countries. It will be a good opportunity as well for us to hear before we move to the next round of questions. So this question is for you, so please also share your experiences with us. And the question would be, how can higher education institutions ensure the marginalized groups, particularly girls and people in rural areas, are not left behind in the future of work? Yes, this is for the audience. Any experience? Yeah, you have one brave person here.
Thank you so much. I felt I wasn't supposed to say anything, but because I saw nobody was putting up the hand, I decided to go for it. I think it is a mandate. I'm from Rwanda, and of course, just like many other countries in Rwanda, girls were less privileged and could not easily access universities and higher learning in general because of the past. Females were the ones who were preoccupied by home chores, and at the end, even when it came to parents selecting who should go for education, the preference was always given to male. I mean, the sons in the families. And so this came up like that, and it has been the trend, and you could see it whether in high school or at universities, females were less privileged and could not appear. And that's why even now, even the demographies show in all sectors that female senior officials are less than male counterparts. And so to kind of bridge that and then have females more privileged, or at least given the advantage, several kind of strategies were put in place. Of course, there is that. First of all, there is the general admission, which is open to all, not selective in favor of male. But in addition to that, then there comes in positive discrimination, where female are preferred, and also other strategies like giving them more incentives to come, because, for example, if they are struggling to get accommodation at universities, at our university we privilege females, especially those who come for the first years, because if you do not do that, then they are exposed to all risks much more than when compared to their fellow male counterparts. But also in addition to that, because we saw that was not enough, and we had our partners, development partners, sponsors, like we prepared a project with MasterCard Foundation, and we had this Scholars Program, which now is helping us to promote more female accessing university, especially at our university, where more than 75% are supposed to be female, and not just those that could easily access university, but those in rural areas that were less privileged, in refugee camps, those with disabilities, and many others of the kind. And so this has created and added a good number of less privileged females accessing university at particularly at our University of Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting experience. have Veronica here. Then to her, okay?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Peter Kirira from Mount Kenya University. Yes, I want to also respond to that question. As a country, there's a time the government took an affirmative.
Which
Yes.
country again? Which country again?
Kenya,
Kenya. Thank you.
Mount Kenya University, Kenya.
Are you here?
Yeah, so in Kenya, you find that there's a time the government took up a position to ensure that it gives the girl child an opportunity to pursue higher education. And what happened is that through an affirmative action, they lowered the entry grade for the girl child. And that happened for a couple of years until the numbers at the universities improved. As a university, also what we have done is, because we know the limitation of access due to sometimes things that women have to do, they are responsible for rearing our children. Sometimes when you tell them to come to campus, it's not possible. So what we have done is that we have a robust Odell platform, which allows even women who have other responsibilities, they can study through the virtual platform from home. And that has really improved the uptake of higher education by the women. Thirdly, the government also has other support structures. We have funds that are able to support women who want to pursue education. They're given bursaries, they're given support. And this increasingly has made a difference over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica Many QS. What I'll say might be a little bit controversial for some, but I think higher education needs to have an honest look at itself as well, because as educators, we can only impart the knowledge that we ourselves have. You cannot go beyond that. And higher education can be a place where things don't necessarily move as quickly as in the wider commercial context. So there has to be an honest introspection are the people that are educating actually up to the standard and understand what those future skills are? Do the educators themselves have those future skills to be able to pass them on? And it doesn't really matter whether it's a marginalized group or a standard group or any other for that matter. The fact is that the education context from that pedagogical perspective will only reflect the knowledge and the attitudes that the educator has. And so there could be investment in training for the people imparting knowledge, also keeping them up to date with changes. I've seen situations where the students often know more about technology than the people teaching them. That can be a challenge. We talk about educating women, but if we look at the boardrooms and the executive committees around higher education institutions, in some places they are in the majority led by male executives or male academics. So there has to be an honesty that if we want things to move forward, we also have to invest in training and bringing the CAD within institutions up to the standard and keeping up to pace with industry. And that's where it begins. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Anyone wants to answer to the question? Okay. I think, any comment from here? Yeah, please, go ahead.
I want to have a comment on it. So there are two aspects of it. One aspect that we spoke about it in other forums as well is the accessibility. So accessibility has been deeply spoken about. The second aspect which is not spoken about is the mindset. We need to change the mindset by bringing in more role models, more mentorship programs wherein women who are successful are able to educate the society that women need to be brought forward, especially in STEM education. So we need to create not just the ideal education, but for ideal environment. So the mindset also is one of the factors which can help, bring in prosperity or bring up this underprivileged and rural background aspirants? Thank you.
Any more comments from the panelists about this? How we can really assure that the marginalized population that is, I mean, I was thinking about women or girls in education, and that was the most of the response that we received from. But there is also the rural and population, and we just heard this morning how agriculture is a very big, important subject for our universities. But what about the populations that, as you also mentioned it, in the context of this continent, is something very difficult to reach? Any experience that you want to share also for this difficult to reach population, or maybe from the...
Well, again, again, it comes back to blended learning, what has proven quite successful, but then there's also specific grants, really to encourage these groups, to take part in activities within the higher education spectrum, further their research. And again, if it's not possible for them to travel, to enable and be flexible enough to find other ways, to encourage these groups to partake. Because, I do think in the previous panel, there was a question about, are traditional degrees still valid or not? But my question would always be for whom? And I think higher education entirely thrives on being a fan of different things that work together and cater to different learning styles, to different personalities and circumstances.
Indeed. Any comment? Yeah. Sorry? Apparently there is one mic open in the audience. If you can just check and close it. Yeah, we hear a sound. Okay, thank you very much. I will just go again with a common question for all of you, please. And in any case, if you have any questions, please let us know. And so, as we saw, there is many different things that we need to change in order to really fulfill and bridge this gap between the forced market needs and our education. But what will be, if you could change one thing on how we educate young Africans today to prepare them for tomorrow's workforce, what would be it?
If I had it my way, I would really, really push for the international mobility aspect, because I do think, and I see it every day in my role, there is nothing like bringing young people from different cultures, backgrounds, countries together so they can learn from one another, exchange ideas, exchange knowledge, and also learn how to debate, how to make your point, of course, in a diplomatic way. So, next week I'm visiting the campus of State University of Zanzibar. We administer this fantastic scholarship that enables south-to-south international mobility, which is actually quite rare. It's normally a north-to-south sort of exchange. And it's really interesting because there we have students from Bangladesh, Pakistan, meeting students from, Tanzania, Nigeria, Kenya, who debate over, for example, food security issues, and really exchange knowledge to say, well, in my country we do it this in this way, in my country we do it this in this way. And this is, I think, what really fosters innovation, to get some new impetus, to get some new ideas. And that, I would say, is on the student side. On the researcher side, it has to be all about equitable partnerships, because again, for the longest time, there was a tendency to have north-south, maybe research teams, but the IP would probably in 90% of the cases lie with the Global North team, and they would be the lead in a particular research project. So I think really equitable partnerships and instill the principles of those to early career researchers. We work quite closely with Association of African Universities on that topic. So I think that would be my approach for researchers, academics.
So collaboration.
Equitable collaboration.
Equitable, yeah. Yeah, but going again to this gathering, we like by ourselves cannot do it, right? Okay, same question for you.
So if I have been asked to change one thing, then what I'll do is I'll make internship compulsory for each and every program. Wherein students who are coming out of HEIs must go for an internship, see the real world, the skills that they've learned, they should apply those. So that's the one thing which HEIs or the education industry need as mandatory internships.
Collaboration, internships, so more practice, hands-on experience. What about you?
In this, maybe I'll echo my colleague in the thing that needs to change is not only the internship. I totally agree with you. However, I do believe, because we had this experience previously, where we had so many studies on what affects the quality or the skills attained by our graduates. It's also not only the mandatory of having internship, also the duration of internship. And this brings me to one thing which is that we can change is maybe it's a mindset itself, because it's not necessary for the student or for the pupils to graduate in order for them to work. His current skill set enables him to work while studying. However, in many countries, the legislation is still not dynamic enough to allow students to have a conventional job where it's limited usually because he doesn't have a degree. This needs to be updated. So maybe what limits this new model where students can work, in many countries they do that actually, can work a full-time job and also study. Maybe the legislation in some countries needs to be updated in order for it to allow the students. So the learning itself, it's not a result to get a good job, but I might have a good job and also continue learning. So that should not be in case of only postgraduate. Also the undergraduate paradigm also need to be shifted and changed and updated.
Great, thank you very much. And over to you, Dr. Sylvie.
I agree with everything that they have said, but on top of that, for us, I think we need to, in the realm of enhancing student learning experiences, we want to be intentional on how we design programs where the industry takes part in the training at campus. Or even outside, whatever. But we've seen if you design a program where some components are taught by industry practitioners, they bring the real world situation to the classroom and expose the students to practical aspects of what they are learning. So we need to design systems of learning that are very intentional in that aspect. We do that, but it's very random. But how do we, from the beginning, how do we design it, and what are we aiming students to learn through this intervention or by the private industry in that particular area? And again, they talked about it. The microcredits very important. We need to be able to design an environment that allows that. There's a lot of resources involved, and even though resources in terms of infrastructure, but also policies, internal policies that allow that kind of collaboration with the industry, because most of the time you find that those microcredits, industry is very much involved. So what kind of policies do we have internally that allows that? And what are we putting there in terms of facilitation and everything? Yeah.
Thank you very much. It has been really insightful to hear all of this, but I think we're going back with all the points that I'm gathering here. We're going back to one of the C's that you mentioned at the beginning, and it's communication, right? Communication with our students, with the industry, but as well with the whole society, in order to really be aligned with their needs, but also what the students are looking for when they are joining our institutions. With that, I think we're closing our panel. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. Is there any question or comment? Otherwise, I think we have 5 minutes more than expected for the break, so you may not be sad with this news, right? Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for my panelists. Please, a round of applause for everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're done. A picture? Yes.
What a day of thoughtful discussions we have had. As we conclude day one of the Africa Forum, a huge thank you to everyone who participated. Please grab some refreshments in the exhibition hall. We also invite you to join us for the networking dinner reception at 6 p.m. taking place at the Poolside Garden. We look forward to seeing you there. Before you head out, please sign up at the registration desk if you're interested in tomorrow's guided walking tour of Stone Town. It's a wonderful opportunity to explore the local culture and connect with fellow participants. Thank you.